Right. What's going on, gang? Hope you're all doing well. So I just finished a 5K series, sub 22 down to sub 14. And I just want to go over some of the fundamental principles of 5K, especially if you're a beginner. It's one of the more popular races that's run either on the track or on the road. It's run quite often in cross country and high school and years prior to that, and to a degree in college as well for women and even men. Um, but there's certain things to look at. And again, it's one of the first races that a lot of people who either have never run before want to try. It gives them a good idea what they want to do next. It's easier to recover from because it's shorter and it doesn't take as long to train for, like a marathon. But there are still some fundamental principles that I want to go over that I think are important, especially if you're new. And then you'll see how you kind of progress along until you get more experienced, and then your goals might change and all these types of things. So, and by the way, I'm going to transition next to 10K training videos, sub 60 minutes all the way down to sub 30. So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Okay, I don't want you to miss these types of things. And let me know that you subscribe. And if you have, so I can thank you. And if you need direct access to me, blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com is how to do it. So let's get to some of these fundamental things. I have it here on a slide for you. And it's, again, some important principles of 5K training. A lot of the stuff's basic, but there's a lot of common sense in here too. So building up to the point where you can get some pattern of consistency is key. Okay, developing some kind of semblance of consistent training and consistent scheduling is really, really key. So I always recommend 4 to 5 days a week. Can you do it less? Yes, but 4 to 5 days a week kind of sets you up easier to bump it up to 5 to 6 or to more specific goals. So that's why 4 to 5 to me is a sweet spot. If you can get your long run up to 50 to 60 minutes, even if you're trying to break 30 minutes for the 5K or whatever it is, this also helps you transition upward to longer races as well. So, and it can be timed. It doesn't have to be pace right now, and pace will come later. Okay. And again, goal, let's say you have a goal. I just want to run this 5K, I want to run that 5K. Then you kind of schedule, you plug them in, you book to make sure you can book the races, and then you plan the training around it. So that say, okay, I have this plan here. And I'm a proponent of periodization, which is essentially blocking things out 3 to 4 week blocks so you can adapt, or if you're a coach or athletes can adapt, and then you can transition to something else. It helps to make sure that you're running your best when it counts the most. You don't overdo it and all that type of stuff. It minimizes the risk of getting sick and injured. So basic speed development is another principle that I think is important to incorporate. Even if it's strides after a run, some short strides, let's just say 5 by 50 meter strides after a run one day. And then at some point, do a couple weeks of that, and you can do strides twice per week. And it's a great way of transitioning into more race specific type stuff should you want to go down that road. But it also helps you develop a good leg cadence. It helps you become running pattern and running form become more efficient. So, which in turn goes back to injury prevention. Also helps you with longer races. The more efficient you are, the better you're going to be at the longer races. Okay. Now, if you start to get a little bit more specific, you ran a couple 5Ks, but now you're like, okay, I want to break 30 minutes. I want to break 25. I want to break 20. Whatever that goal is, you set your proper training paces. And how do you do that? Well, I always recommend the 1 mile time trial. You see that down below. And I generally say if you can get 6 to 8 weeks of basic fundamental running, then you're fit enough to do a 1 mile time trial, which will accurately gauge your fitness more than it would had you not done it before. So, and then what that does, it allows you to set your training paces for everything based on what you run for the mile. I've got videos on this channel from 8-minute mile all the way down to 4 minute, which can help you set your training paces for whatever you need based on those videos. So go take a look at them. Everything is laid out for you. So, but to me, these are basic principles and fundamental. Obviously, rest and hydration and fueling and so on is important as well. But these right here, having them on a consistent basis or incorporating them or considering them on a consistent basis is a good thing. And again, 5K is a lot of fun to run. Now let's pivot over to let's say if you want to bump up now, you're like, okay, I've done a few 5Ks. I want to bump it up to like 8K or 10K. Okay. Some people want to go all the way up to the marathon, and that's okay. Half marathon, that's okay. This is easier to transition upward because the long run kind of is fundamentally built into it. Your long runs and your speed development is built into it. Should you do that as well? So it's an easy transition from 5 to 10. Some fundamental principles, again, is increasing your long run to 60 to 90 minutes if you can. It doesn't have to be 90. Some people can do 60, some 70, some 80, but it's got to be gradual over an extended period of time. Gradual is the way to do it, okay? Rolling long run. So if you're in an area where you've got rolling hills, a park with rolling hills where you can do your long runs, it's a great way of building strength, especially early on. And you can consider that as a workout. So you can even incorporate your strides into these runs, turn them into a little bit of a fartlek where you're accelerating mid-run So there's a lot of things you can do. You can attack the uphills, you can run, you can finish strong, and so on. So the rolling long run is a great way of setting you up for everything else. Okay, and setting up for road racing, setting up for the track, even cross country. And some of the best people on the track and the roads are folks that have run cross country and do a lot of hills. So it's just a thought. Learning pace work is also important as you start to move up, especially if it's 10K pace work, and then you can do 10K pace work down to 5K pace work. And that goes back to setting yourself up by doing the 1 mile time trial, because it makes sure you're running at the accurate training paces for your current fitness. So it makes learning pace work a lot easier. So that's another principle. On the bottom of that, you have rest and hydration, always a key thing. Okay, resting from everything, making sure you're sleeping enough, making sure you're recovering from runs and workouts, and you're not overdoing it is absolutely key. And that's why incorporating an off day here and there as well is of utmost importance as well. Off days can be just as important as hard workouts. So something to keep in mind. This, to me, tempo threshold becomes a little bit more important. You can start incorporating that in 5K training, but tempo and threshold allows you to do a good amount of over distance training, a lot of volume without beating yourself up. Okay, particularly threshold too. So let's just say you build up to a 5 mile tempo, and then you can go on the other side and do a 5 times a mile at threshold pace with a minute recovery, and have it slightly faster than the miles at tempo pace. So this is a way of getting a lot of volume without beating up the legs and not negatively affecting the recovery. So you can come back, do another workout 2 or 3 days later, or if your race is coming up, you can do that too. It doesn't sap you, but it allows you to get a lot of work in. And lastly, I can't emphasize this one enough, and I tell a lot of my athletes over the last 2 decades, is race the way you train. If you train to run even races, you try to run even splits. And if you're doing the workouts, you try to do it in a race. If you get progressively faster, you try to do that in a race. Last thing you want to do is go out too hard and say, well, I felt these, I was hanging out with those guys. Just be careful. That's why training the way you race is important. It keeps you within your capabilities. Now, there's some, if you're just doing regular training, there are some situations where people can overshoot their landing and run a heck of a lot better. And that's where you show you have a talented person, right? You see these types of things there. But training at the right training paces is key, and training racing the way you train is absolutely key as well. So let me know if you find these helpful. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. And again, please don't leave without subscribing to the channel. I want to try to help as many people in the running community as possible. Don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. Have a great day, everybody. And we're gonna start training, doing our 10K training, 6 key workouts for all those milestones. That's coming this week. Talk to you later.